Tasia Birch, the woman charged with killing a mother of 8 last month, is pleading self-defense. That's according to her attorney at today's bond court hearing. News 4's Conley Grayson was there and joins us now. And Conley, what does her attorney say happened?
Tessa, Birch's attorney says she and Simmons got in a fight outside of the Bloom Room. Now, he said Birch was about to leave in her car when Simmons charged at her. That's when Birch shot and killed Simmons. Birch is charged with manslaughter and possession of a deadly weapon during the commission of a violent crime. And today, a judge gave her a surety bond. After the hearing, I talked with Jennifer Ferguson, Simmons' grandmother, who says Birch's story can't be true.
Time is short. You just never know. Those were the last public words Maya Jennifer Simmons ever shared, posted in a fleeting Snapchat story just hours before she stepped into the final chapter of her life. She couldn't have known how prophetic they'd be. It was supposed to be one of the happiest nights of her 30 years on Earth. A celebration. A proposal. The promise of a future. Instead, the parking lot outside Bloom Room nightclub in Atlanta would become a crime scene, soaked in flashing red and blue, littered with shattered glass and silenced dreams. Because someone else had been watching. Waiting. And she did not come to celebrate. This is Murder Watch TV. And tonight, we're peeling back the layers of a tragedy that began with love, and ended with 5 gunshots under the neon haze of a summer night. The diamond on Maya's finger sparkled beneath the Bloom Room's pulsing blue lights, catching the attention of anyone nearby. But for Maya, it wasn't about the ring. It was what the ring meant. She stood there, surrounded by her closest friends, her heart blooming with hope. After years of heartbreak, loss, and scraping by for the sake of her children, she was finally being celebrated, not just as a mother, or a survivor, but as a woman deeply loved. She laughed. She cried. She kissed the man who had just gotten down on one knee in the middle of a crowded nightclub and asked her to be his wife. He wasn't the father of her children, but he had embraced them as his own. And that mattered more than anything. But there was someone else in that room, someone who watched from the shadows, unmoved by joy, untouched by the cheers. Maya Simmons Birch. She didn't clap. She didn't smile. She stared. And then she drank. To understand the weight of what was lost that night, you need to know who Maya Jennifer Simmons truly was. She was more than a headline. She was a mother of 8. A woman who braided her children's hair after 12-hour work shifts. Who stayed up late checking homework, even when exhaustion clawed at her spine. She had known pain, deep, suffocating grief. She had lost one of her twin daughters, Dream, a tragedy that would have shattered many others. But Maya built something beautiful from her sorrow. A home filled with love. Laughter. Purpose. She was magic with those kids, said her grandmother, Jennifer Ferguson, who had raised Maya herself when Maya's own mother was consumed by addiction. We'd sit on the porch swing and watch her babies play in the yard. She used to tell me she wanted to open her own daycare. Something affordable for other moms trying to make it. And she meant it. Her notebook was filled with plans for Maya's Little Angels daycare. Curriculum outlines. Budget projections. Dreams carved in ink between childcare shifts and online college courses. She was building a better life. Slowly. Quietly. Until one night, everything she had been working toward was ripped away in the time it takes to pull a trigger. An ordinary day by all appearances. Maya dropped her younger children off with her grandmother. She got her hair done. Her nails. She wore a dress that made her feel like herself again. She thought she was going to celebrate her friend Letitia's promotion. What she didn't know was that the night had been carefully orchestrated. Her boyfriend of 2 years had been planning this proposal for weeks. And now, every detail was set, from the table reserved by the dance floor, to the hidden champagne bottles, to the moment the music dipped and he took her hand. The video footage captured it all. Maya gasping. Tears. Cheers. Friends shouting. A nightclub transformed, for a few glorious minutes, into a fairy tale. But fairy tales don't last. And real monsters don't always hide in the dark. Sometimes, they sit at the bar, watching. Kaisha Simmons Birch had arrived just after 10 p.m. Alone. She ordered one drink and positioned herself with a perfect view of Maya's table. When the proposal happened, her reaction was instant. She slammed the glass on the counter and clenched the edge of the bar so tightly her knuckles turned white. It wasn't the first time Kaisha had crossed paths with Maya. They weren't close. Barely acquaintances, linked only by one man, Maya's new fiancé. The same man Kaisha had dated on and off for nearly 3 years. To Kaisha, that relationship had never truly ended. Even after he told her he'd moved on. Even after the messages went unanswered. Even when she saw photos of Maya with his arm around her, surrounded by children Kaisha never met. She always believed he'd come back, said one of Kaisha's relatives. Even when they weren't together, she'd say they were just on a break. But this proposal? In public? With cameras and cheers? It wasn't just heartbreak. It was humiliation. And humiliation can turn to rage. At 11:50 p.m. As Maya made her way to the restroom, Kaisha stepped into the narrow hallway and blocked her path. Security cameras captured the moment their paths collided. The audio was drowned by music, but the tension was visible, Kaisha pointing at Maya's hand, at the ring. Her face twisted in fury. Maya trying to move past, her body language cautious but calm. A club employee stepped in, and Kaisha backed away. Maya rushed back to her friends, shaken. She said the woman claimed to be involved with her fiancé, Letitia later told investigators. And that she was making threats. They told her to ignore it. They told her it wasn't worth ruining the night. But Kaisha didn't disappear. She stayed. Drinking. Calling. Watching. Waiting. By 12:35 a.m., Maya's group decided to leave the Bloom Room and continue the celebration elsewhere. Security footage shows Kaisha slipping out moments ahead of them. But she wasn't leaving. She was preparing. She walked to her car. Opened the door. Retrieved something. Closed it. And stood in the shadows near the far end of the parking lot. Waiting. For Maya. What drives a person to plan another's destruction? Is it love twisted into obsession? Or pride bleeding into violence? What happened next would steal a mother from 8 children. Would end a future before it truly began. And it would all unfold in less than 30 seconds, right there, under the cold glow of parking lot floodlights. Minutes passed. Then Maya walked out of the club with her fiancé and a few friends, still glowing from the proposal. They laughed. They posed for one last picture under the streetlights. But the air had changed. It was heavier now. Charged. Kaisha was waiting. According to witnesses, Maya and her fiancé were making their way toward the car when Kaisha emerged from the shadows, calm at first. Then a confrontation erupted. Words flew. Accusations. Maya's fiancé stepped between them, trying to defuse the situation. It didn't work. Kaisha reached into her car. Witnesses say she pulled out a gun. Panic rippled through the group. Some ducked. Others screamed. And then the shots rang out. Maya collapsed before she could even react. Her fiancé dove toward her, screaming her name. Blood pooled on the pavement. Her last night on earth had become her execution. People scattered. Some called 911. Others froze in place, stunned by the speed of it all. She just stood there with this blank expression. Said one witness who had been walking to his car when the shots rang out. Like she was watching a movie instead of a real person dying in front of her. Security guards from the Bloom Room reached the scene within moments. One restraining Kaisha. Another dropping to his knees, trying desperately to save Mia. Police and emergency medical services arrived 7 minutes after the first 911 call. Paramedics worked frantically in the parking lot, kneeling in broken glass and blood, trying to stabilize Maya Jennifer Simmons. Body camera footage from responding officers shows the chaos. Sirens screaming in the background. Maya's friends huddled together in shock. Her fiancé's shirt soaked in red. His hands trembling as he held the woman he just asked to be his wife. She kept saying, "He was supposed to be mine." Over and over, reported Officer James Kendrick, the one who transported Kaisha from the scene. Not yelling it, just repeating it like she was trying to convince herself. Less than 3 hours after saying yes to a proposal that had meant everything. The engagement ring was still on her finger when the doctors gave up. As news of the shooting began to spread, through group texts, through social media, through the flickering crawl of local news, the community struggled to make sense of what had happened. 8 children had gone to bed that night, not knowing they'd wake up to a world that would never be the same. The emergency department at Atlanta Medical Center erupted into action. The moment paramedics radioed ahead. Gunshot victim. Multiple wounds. Vitals unstable. A trauma team was already waiting in the ambulance bay. They rushed Maya through the double doors. Medical staff performing chest compressions while moving. Her fiancé tried to follow but was stopped. Security led him to a private waiting area, where 2 officers sat him down to begin their questions. Even as his hands remained stained with her blood. "We got her back twice in the ambulance," one paramedic would later testify. But her blood pressure kept dropping. There was just too much internal damage. Despite emergency transfusions. Despite attempts to repair shredded arteries. Collapsed lungs. A failing heart. Maya Jennifer Simmons coded for the 3rd and final time. She was pronounced dead at 1:37 a.m. The official cause, exsanguination due to multiple gunshot wounds to the thoracic cavity. At 2:23 a.m., officers knocked on the door of Jennifer Ferguson, Maya's grandmother and the woman who had helped raise her. Bodycam footage shows the door creak open. Jennifer's hand flies to her mouth. She doesn't need to hear the words. "Is it Maya?" she asks, voice trembling. "Please don't tell me it's Maya." Inside, 8 children slept peacefully. The youngest, just 3 years old, had been tucked into bed by Maya hours earlier. "How do I tell them?" Jennifer whispered to the officers, tears streaming down her cheeks. "How do I tell these babies their mama isn't coming home?" Back at the Bloom room, the crime scene was locked down. Technicians placed evidence markers in a widening circle of blood. 5 shell casings, 9mm, recovered from the asphalt. Photographs of footprints, of shattered glass, of a single earring lying near Maya's hand. They kept the parking lot sealed until nearly 6 a.m. At headquarters, detectives were already building the timeline. By dawn, they had interviewed 12 witnesses. People who had seen the argument, the shooting, the seconds just after. Their stories were consistent. There was no confusion. No mystery. No question of who pulled the trigger. The investigation wasn't about the who. It was about the why. The weapon was easy to trace. A legally purchased 9mm handgun, registered to Kaisha Simmons Birch. She had bought it 6 weeks earlier from a shop in Marietta, Georgia. Her background checks came back clean. She had no prior arrests. No history of violence. Nothing to suggest what would come next. But the search of her apartment, executed under warrant, revealed everything else. A corkboard, covered in printed-out photos of Maya and her fiancé, clearly taken from social media. A journal, dozens of pages long, detailing her thoughts, her frustrations, her fantasies. And one chilling page, handwritten and titled, "Ways to Make Her Go Away." None of the items listed explicitly mentioned violence. But the intent was clear. Investigators found messages on Kaisha's phone. Text after text sent to friends, late at night, growing darker with each entry. I can't sleep knowing he might marry her. I can't eat. I can't think about anything else. On July 30, 2023, just 2 days after the shooting, Maya Simmons Birch was formally charged at the Fulton County Courthouse. She wore an orange jumpsuit, hair tied in a simple ponytail. The courtroom silent as the charges were read. 1 count of second-degree murder. 1 count of possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. 1 count of aggravated assault. The district attorney's office had considered first-degree murder. But the evidence, they said, didn't quite meet the threshold for premeditation. Still, it was clear she acted with malice. She had brought a loaded weapon, approached a woman who posed no threat, and fired, again and again. When asked for her plea, Maya's voice was barely audible. Not guilty. Bail was denied. At first, her public defender leaned into a defense of temporary insanity. Emotional distress, mental instability. The impact of alcohol. The trauma of watching someone she once loved move on. But in September, the strategy changed. They filed a motion claiming self-defense. According to Maya's new statement, Maya had threatened her. She said Maya made a move toward her in the parking lot, one she interpreted as reaching for a weapon. But that claim was dead on arrival. Security footage showed no such movement. Witnesses confirmed, Maya never raised her voice, never lifted her hands, never even got close. My granddaughter never carried a weapon in her life, Jennifer Ferguson told reporters outside the courthouse. She was a mother. She was planning a wedding. To say she threatened anyone is a lie, and a desecration of her memory. The trial began on February 12, 2024. It lasted 7 days. The prosecution laid out its case with precision. Surveillance video from inside the club. Audio recordings from responding officers' body cams. Expert testimony on the bullet trajectory. Forensic evidence proving Maya was 6 feet away when she was shot. A bartender from the Bloom Room delivered one of the most damning statements. He said Maya had leaned in earlier that night, watching Maya from across the room, and muttered, "Some people don't know when to back off from what isn't theirs." The jury deliberated less than 5 hours. The verdict: guilty on all charges. Maya didn't flinch. Didn't cry. Didn't look at the family seated behind the prosecutor's table. Maya's fiancé sat with his head down. Jennifer Ferguson wept into the shoulder of a pastor. At the sentencing hearing on March 8, 2024, Maya finally spoke. Her voice cracked. Her hands shook. "I never meant for things to go this far," she said. "I didn't go there planning to hurt anyone. I just wanted him to see that he was making a mistake." The judge didn't hesitate. "The evidence shows that you brought a loaded firearm to confront a woman who posed no threat. Your actions were driven by jealousy and entitlement. And they cost 8 children their mother." Maya Simmons Birch was sentenced to 35 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after 25. As she was led from the courtroom, the ring Maya had worn that night, the ring she had said yes to, hung from a chain around her fiancé's neck. The months after the trial were quiet, but not peaceful. There were no more court appearances. No cameras. No press conferences. Just silence, and the long, slow unraveling of lives altered forever. Maya's children were split between relatives. Her oldest son, just 12, went to live with his aunt in Charlotte. The younger ones remained with Jennifer Ferguson, their great-grandmother, now their legal guardian. "I tuck them in every night," Jennifer said in an interview 6 months later. "But sometimes the littlest one still cries for her mama in her sleep. And I don't know how to tell her that no one is coming." The family moved out of the apartment where Maya had lived. They couldn't bear to stay. Too many memories. Too much emptiness. Her bedroom was the last thing they packed. Her dresses still hanging in the closet. her favorite perfume still sitting on the dresser. One bottle, half full, left exactly where she'd put it the night she went out. For what should have been a celebration. The Bloom Room reopened 2 weeks after the shooting. But it was never the same. The parking lot still held faint stains in the pavement. Scrubbed clean. But not erased. A mural appeared on the outer wall in late August. Maya's face in bold strokes. A crown of flowers over her braids. A single line painted underneath. She loved hard. She left too soon. Customers left candles. Cards. Plastic roses. Some nights, the mural was surrounded by silence. Others, by whispered prayers. One bartender eventually quit, telling his manager, "I can't walk past that spot without hearing the shots in my head. Every time I close up, I hear her scream." Maya Simmons Birch was transferred to Pulaski State Prison in Hawkinsville, Georgia. Inmate number, GDC number 1228423. Housing Unit C, Bed 14. She receives no visitors. No calls. No letters. Her own family, once tight-knit, cut ties after the sentencing. Her mother refused interviews. Her father moved to Florida. Her little sister changed her last name. She destroyed 2 families, one relative said off record. And for what? A man who'd already moved on. Inside, Kaisha works in the laundry room. Her days are quiet. She's refused mental health services. She rarely speaks. And when she does, it's always the same phrase. Murmured to herself before lights out. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. The man at the center of it all, Maya's fiancé, disappeared. In the days after the trial, he gave one short statement to local press. "She was my best friend. I don't know how to breathe without her." And then he vanished. Deleted all his social media. Changed his number. Some say he moved north. Others say he still visits her grave once a year. Always on the anniversary, always alone. They never recovered the engagement ring. After the trial, he took it from the chain around his neck. And placed it into Maya's casket before the funeral. "She said yes," he whispered. As the casket was lowered. "She said yes." And in the end, that's what remains. Not the club. Not the gun. Not the court records or grainy security footage. Just that moment. Caught forever in someone's cell phone video. Recorded seconds before the tragedy unfolded. Maya, spinning with joy. Her smile wide. Her hands trembling. A ring shining under the flashing lights. The music swelling behind her. She doesn't know what's coming. No one does. But for that one moment. One fleeting, perfect moment. She is exactly where she wants to be. Loved. Chosen. Alive. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe to Murder Watch TV for more in-depth true crime narratives that help us understand the devastating impact of violence and loss. By exploring these cases, we honor the memories of victims like Maya and work toward a world where such tragedies are less likely to occur.